Hi folks, this is Jay. Hope you're okay today. It's good to see you, and I just want to thank everybody for their love and support, for coming on the channel and for just being a subscriber, and I appreciate that. And I just thank you for giving your time and your energy in listening to what I have to say and watching all the videos that are being uploaded. And I'm just really enjoying these days. I'm just trying to concentrate on doing positive, good material, and I hope you're blessed. Very disappointed recently concerning the atheist community. Some great debates under some of the videos that I put up, but some of the atheists have been pressing the spam button concerning Christian comments, and that prejudiced the debate, so I've had to stop the comment section on one or two videos. So atheists, if you really want honest debate, then stop doing those kinds of things. I just want to say, recently, I had Thunderfoot Ironra and DPR Jones phone me on Skype a few weeks ago, and one of them, I'll not tell you which one, but one of them threatened me with legal action because I was having such a powerful effect on some people that they weren't liking it. Would they have a debate with me, intellectual debate, academic debate? No. But one of them threatened me with legal action. That's the kind of thing that they do, these atheists on YouTube. The atheist in Manchester, great, like them, honest, 10 out of 10. Atheist on YouTube, 1 out of 10. You cannot get them in an honest, academic, open way to discuss and debate with them. They even tried to roll in one of their best scholars, Dr. Jones from New York. They wanted me to discuss with him, take the place of Cy Brugenkate. I said no, I will not just discuss, I want a proper academic debate. They said no, we can't do that. They ran away from it. That's what they do. Anyhow, enough of that. Let's get on to the main thing. There's an atheist here. He's not famous or well known or anything like that, but it doesn't matter to me. I like this guy, although he's a bit of an atheist fanatic, called Atheist Defended. He didn't tell me or give me the courtesy that he made a video about me, but never mind. Let's hear what he has to say. He's debating my argument from silence. My video critiquing the atheist argument from silence. I will link to his video, even though he hasn't linked to mine. Because of vision softly creeping. Most historians would say that this argument from silence, kind of use of an argument from silence, is perhaps one of the weakest weapons in a historian's armour. So most historians, if they use this method, they use it very stringently and tightly, because they know it generally is a weak way of trying to do history. Okay. Secondly, there's no general agreed criteria as to work out objectively what is a solid argument from silence. So there are general sort of ideas, but there are no there's no objective main rule.
And that, of course, was the legendary self-congratulatory Jason Burns.
So that comment that I made about argument from silence, the problems with it, basically what the atheists do, they say zombies came out of a tomb when Jesus died. If that happened, why didn't the historians mention it? Jesus rose from the dead, wouldn't the historians of that time have mentioned it? Because they didn't mention it, it didn't happen. Argument from silence. Okay, you need to know, when I did that video, I researched top academic stuff. I went to the top universities around the world on their websites, looked at top academic historians, and when I made those statements, they came from a lot of academic research. Basically, this guy's going to make a video. He never deals with this issue about objective criteria. He never talks about how a historian does his job or her job, and the kind of historical tools that you need to do in order to investigate an historical event, and how those objective criteria apply to the argument of silence. Basically, this guy never even goes there or touches that because methodology is not only a weak point of atheists, it's a weak point of academics. You can always get an academic on their methodology, because most academics, whatever field, are not as rigorous as they should be in the area of methodology.
Talking about the argument from silence, according to Mr. Burns and other videos, he's had thousands of debates with us atheists, and he's never lost one. Well,
I've never lost one because they never come and actually do it, really. They never actually come and have a proper academic debate.
Do my best to try to change that today. In fact, somebody else preceded me and already began the excoriation.
Sorry, one did, negation of P, and he got his intellectual butt handed to him. And since then, the atheists have run a mile from having an academic debate with me.
Of Mr. Burns. This gentleman here, Stephen Bachman, who's new to video production but really has a long career ahead of him, has taken on Mr. Burns in a couple of debates already, and apparently in the last one, which I didn't get a chance to watch, Mr. Burns finally replied to him. But Mr. Bachman here did an admirable job of attacking some of his premises. You can go check out his site and perhaps subscribe to him as I've done. I'll provide the actual address in this video. Now, when he talks about this argument from silence,
so basically, atheism defended, you're basically saying this guy beat me, but you didn't watch my video reply, so basically you're talking from your backside, mate. Basically, Stephen's quite a nice guy. He was told by the atheist community, not Atheism Defended. Atheism Defended is talking about this other guy called Stephen. Stephen's quite a nice guy, and he sent me this video. He was a bit cocky, but I could see he was a genuine guy. And I made a video response. And Stephen was quite shocked because he was told by the atheist community that I wouldn't bother with him. That I don't bother with the atheists. I do bother with the atheists. I bother with people who are sincere, who are honest, who are truly trying to think things through. I've got tons of time for such a person, so I gave Stephen my time. I replied to him. I made a video reply, and I was kind to Stephen, but he was outclassed. He made a list of the sources that he used. He used some kind of lady off the YouTube who was just like into trying to be famous on YouTube. He didn't use any scholarly resources or primary source material or anything. And I made a video response, and I gave loads of scholarship, and he was just outclassed. It was beyond his ability. He didn't know the subject, and he knew he didn't know it, and he ran off with the tails between his legs. Just saying, Atheist Defended.
Most historians say it's a weak one. Well, I looked on internet, and
Let's just get back.
check out his site and perhaps subscribe to him as I've done. I'll provide the actual address in this video. Now, when he talks about this argument from silence, most historians say it's a weak one. Well, I looked on internet, and it's considered a weak argument if it's argued by itself. But as Mr. Burns said, it would have to be stringent, and it would have to have other things attached to it to make it more formidable. And
well, that's the point. The atheists don't, and he's admitted it. He's admitted that the argument from silence is a weak argument, and it needs to be it needs stringent criteria before you use it. So saying zombies came out of the tomb when Jesus died and they weren't mentioned is not, by historians, is not an objective criteria for understanding and assessing an historical event. Okay, and that's the way atheists present this argument. They don't do it in a scholarly, objective way. And I'm glad he admits, really, he's unwittingly admitted how pathetic the atheist community are in using this kind of argument.
I'm going to try to do that in my own little attempt, and hopefully I'll be the second atheist who has defeated him. Mr. Bachman preceded me. I took this little formula from Wikipedia, but you can find it elsewhere.
Did he say Wikipedia? When I made my argument from silence, I looked at the top universities around the world and the top academic historians, and he's coming with Wikipedia against me. I don't know. Anyhow, let's go on.
A more in-depth type of thing here as far as the argument from silence. And before I even begin that, in their own Bible, they have many cases of their own arguing from silence. Gospel of John, for example, at the very end, the last verse in John 21:25, the person pretending to be John, I should say, said, quote, Jesus did many other things as well. If every one of them were written down, I suppose that even the whole world would not have had room for the books that would have been written, unquote. He supposes, but he doesn't show the other books. That's an argument from silence from their very own Bible.
Interesting. Seeing as you mentioned John, what about 1 John, bro? John is saying that there's loads of information, but he's just written the gospel because it's something that he had eyewitness accounts of. And actually there is tons of evidence to show that John wrote the Gospel of John, that it was in the at least late 1st century written. Okay, we know that because we have a piece of Gospel of John in Ryland's library in Manchester, Atheist Defended, which goes back to about 85 AD. So there we are, there's loads of evidence, my friend. 1 John says, we proclaim to you the one who existed from the beginning, whom we have heard and seen. We saw him with our own eyes and touched him with our own hands. Is that an argument from silence? He's saying that he's experienced these things. So you need to get that context, what you're talking about there, in context with the way John is trying to present his position. Well, let's go on.
In this formula here, in the argument from silence formula, we have to presuppose, make a couple of assumptions. We'll say, for this argument, the letter D as in dog represents ancient historians. In this particular case, there might be a couple of them. Philo, Judas, and this other gentleman, I think is, I have to scroll down to see his name here. Give me a minute.
He doesn't know. He doesn't know.
Yeah, Justus of Tiberias. They both lived around the time Jesus supposedly lived.
Yeah. Notice he didn't really know who that guy was. So I mean, we're not looking at an expert here. We're looking at an amateur.
So let's say they represent ancient historians for this argument here. And whether E would be...
So Philus and Justus of Tiberias. This is his argument.
...be for Jesus or his followers or Christianity. Well, the first premise of the argument would be, document D from the ancient historians appears. And there's no reference to the event E, Jesus, followers, or Christianity. Second premise is, it's known that the intention of the author of document D, these historians, was to provide an exhaustive list of all events and a class of events to which E belongs. So what that means, basically, they've written about other events similar. They wrote a lot about the Jewish religion. They wrote about other different kind of cults and what have you. Every event, in fact, Romans were notorious, particularly Philo, they were notorious for being meticulous in their documentation of events going on around them. And yet nothing about this Jesus or his followers. And third premise actually says that. It says, event E is assumed to be the type of event which the author of D, i.e. these ancient writers, would not have overlooked had the event taken place.
Okay, so for his specific argument here, a document D appears in which there is no reference to event E. He's a bit confused there. He talks D equals ancient historians, plural. Document D appears that's singular. So he's a bit confused there, but never mind. We'll let him off there. Anyhow, a document D appears in which there is no reference to event E. Right. So you need to tell us what the document is. He's not given us a specific document. Whenever I talk about these issues, I will quote you verse from a document, from Philo, from